In the last video we went through all of the core book's solar archery charms, and we did some revisions to some charms, did some commentary to some charms, and left some charms alone. Today we're going to continue with the athletics charms, but before we do that I do want to jump back a little bit here to the archery charms. And the purpose of the last video was to do more of a revision than a rewrite. So some charms I would agree would be much better if they were rewritten completely, but that's a much larger project than a simple revision. There are some changes I would like to do since the previous video, and that's primarily to Immaculate Golden Bow. I think that to make the Immaculate Golden Bow a valid build option for an archer that isn't a supernal archer, I would like to change these prerequisites to Archer for Essence 1. And the only purpose for this is to make it available at Essence 1. I think Immaculate Golden Bow and other artifact creation powers, they should be balanced around the idea that many characters start out with an artifact if they want to go with an artifact build. I do think there are some things about Immaculate Golden Bow that makes it much better than an artifact, and that's primarily the ability to hide it. It only exists for the scene that it's summoned. If you do go with a standard artifact instead, you need a separate charm to be able to hide it in elsewhere and bring it back again. So Immaculate Golden Bow has that power kind of built into itself. It also benefits from the fact that when it isn't materialized, you don't need to commit the motes to it. So with those arguments in mind, I can see the reasoning for an Essence 2 pre-requirement. I do still prefer to change it to Essence 1, primarily for the reason that it's often an ignored charm in my experience, based on the fact that most solar characters that I've played with or storytelled for have had their build in mind already from the start. It is, if you don't want to start with an artifact, it is a solid alternative even if you have to wait for Essence 2, so I do buy that argument, but I decided to change it to Essence 1 primarily for the reason that it then becomes a more solid alternative to a build. Anyway, in summary, Immaculate Golden Bow is a bit of I'm a bit ambivalent to that charm. That I do see the argument for having it Essence 2, but I simply prefer to lower it to Essence 1, and I don't think it actually breaks the game too much to do that. The only real benefit the player does get compared to an artifact weapon is the fact that they can hide it. They don't have to commit the motes to it when they don't use it. And other than that, it's pretty much an artifact weapon. So there's that. I did get a comment from Synapse that he preferred to make Immaculate Golden Bow supplemental instead of simple, because then it can be used as part of a ready weapon action. I do see the argument for that, and I think that's a cool effect. I do think that it should start as a simple weapon because of those other positive benefits it has already, and perhaps upgrading it to a supplemental charm could be an upgrade instead, or an evocation, but it comes with so many benefits that I think having it start out as simple is a good compromise. It does become more badass if it's supplemental, I do agree with that. Then we had a comment from Vertimo about 7 Omen Shot. Where do I have 7 Omen Shot? Here, 7 Omen Shot. Because in the previous video this was a charm that I expressed a lot of dislike for, and then later in the video I went back and basically restored it to its unchanged, to the unchanged write-up. And I do agree that it is a terrible charm in its original state, and you basically need these repurchases in order to make it good. If I were to rewrite the charms completely instead of simply revise them, I would remake 7 Omen Shot completely and give it an entirely different effect. Probably some kind of ambush enhancer instead of simply a sniping charm. But because I only wanted to make some easier revisions, I did go with this route instead. And I think this is an alternative that you can play with to make 7 Omen Shot a bit more easy to manage. But I do agree that the charm shouldn't really be in the state it is anyway. It should be rewritten completely to make it more fun. But it is what it is. I think that's all I have to say about the archery charms. The athletic charms, I know that a lot of athletic charms actually work as foundation charms or baseline charms for the other later Exalt types. I do think that many of them are solid, even if you can have some thoughts about improvements, of course. Anyway, athletics. That's not bold. That's bold. Charm 1, Graceful Crane Stance. 3 modes, Athletics 1, Essence 1, Reflexive 1, Seen, none. The Solar draws essence through her pores and into her bones, suffusing and lightening her form and steadying her step. For the rest of the scene, she has perfect balance and can stand or run on things too narrow or weak to support her normally, with no chance of falling or breaking through. She can run on a Gaia wire, stand on a crumbling parapet, balance on the tip of a pine tree, and perform many similar feats without needing to roll dexterity plus athletics. I think that's a solid charm. So let's write it in. A Graceful Crane Stance, A-OK. Monkey Leap technique. 2 modes. The Exalt leaps with the speed and grace of a striking hawk. Using this technique, a Solar may automatically leap forward or straight up one range band. A Solar using this charm can easily leap to the top of a 20-foot wall or cross a Nexus street over rooftops without having to roll. This charm counts as the Solar's movement for the turn. If the Solar continues to leap to a different range band each turn, the cost is reduced to 1 mote of the first activation. I've noticed that Monkey Leap is actually... There are some misconceptions about how it's used among some players. I've noticed among a lot of players. Monkey Leap, basically, I mean, you do have your reflexive movement action, and you cannot combine 2 different movement actions together. So you cannot combine a reflexive movement action with a combat movement action, for example, unless it's specifically stated such in the action's descriptions, like the rush action, for example. Then you use your reflexive move action, you state your rush action, but you still remain within that range band until the target you're rushing moves, then you move after them. So you don't really move more than a single range band either way, even if you declare a rush action, for example, or disengage action. So Monkey Leap works in the way that it basically replaces the reflexive move action, and I've seen a lot of players use it in addition to the reflexive move action, which is incorrect. And then the typical question comes up, then what is it good for? It's good for a lot of things. It's good for jumping over obstacles, jumping over heavy terrain, and just some stunt value as well, like jumping up on a rooftop and things like that, without the need for any difficult rolls. So there is a lot of value in Monkey Leap technique, but people usually buff it up more than it's designed to. So, what is my reflection about this charm? It's a Okay. Soaring Crane Leap. 3 modes. Athletics 3, Essence 1, Reflexive, non-instant. Striking an efficacious pose, the Exalt catches the wind to slow a fall. This allows her to drop down 2 range bands without taking damage. In order to survive a very long fall with this charm, the solo must use it at least once every 3 range bands. The Exalt can also use this... Wait a minute. You drop down 2 range bands without taking damage. And to survive a very long fall, you must use it at least once every 3 range bands. Okay, so every 3 range bands you pay 3 modes. Okay, I understand. And then you stack the mode cost. The Exalt can also use this charm to drift long distances through the air, expending her movement action to float forward a single range band even as she continues to fall. With an adequate amount of thrust, the Exalt can glide across long horizontal distances without falling, equaling her initial movement forward. For example, if she were to leap out over a chasm 2 range bands across with Monkey Leap technique, she could then activate Soaring Crane Leap to glide across the second range band on the next turn. Ah, that's cool. Appropriate stunts can increase straight across movement before the Exalt begins to drop. I think this becomes a solid charm when you put everything here together. It has a few different elements to it, but if you only look at the first part of the charm, where it basically it gives you slow fall, then you can compare this to a resistance charm, for example. I think it's adamant skin technique. It could be something else. We'll see that when we get to resistance, but there is a resistance charm that basically makes you ignore fall damage completely, and with that charm you don't really need this charm to save yourself. But since this charm can actually let you soar, it becomes extremely valuable. So I would keep this as it is, and I do also like the way it's written. It's a bit wordy. It's a long paragraph, but I do like that they add this example, because this effect here, the gliding effect, since it's a new effect that's not really associated with a rule, it breaks rules rather when it comes to combat, then it's very important to add this example just to make the mechanics declaration more straightforward. Because as I said in the previous video, it's very important that there aren't any questions about how a charm mechanic works, and you want to keep word count down, but at the same time, if you introduce new mechanics, then you need to present those mechanics in action, just to avoid any forum questions, for example, later. So this charm is A-okay. It seems like we're going to Soaring Crane Leap through the athletic charms, because this started out well. I do know that there are some charms coming that we're going to have a discussion about, but so far so good. Now, foe vaulting method. 3 initiative. Athletics 2, Essence 1, Reflexive, non-instant. And it requires Graceful Crane Stance and Monk Leap. You need to have very good balance and be able to jump far to be able to use this charm. Fearless in combat, the Solar leaps over her stunned opponent. At close range, if the Exalt has higher initiative before cost than her foe, she must use this charm on her turn, rolling Dexterity plus Athletics against her opponent's evasion. If successful, she leaps over her target, creating an opening and may make a surprise attack. Okay, so you need to have higher initiative before you pay the 3 initiative, and then you roll Dexterity plus Athletics against their evasion. But it doesn't count as an attack. So they cannot use. They shouldn't be able to use an evasion enhancing charms that are specifically stated to be in defensive attacks. So that's good. If successful, she leaps over target, creating an opening and may make a surprise attack. Overhead or at her back. This charm may only be used once per combat, but is reset by landing a decisive attack and building initiative to 6+. Okay, I see. It's very good. I would actually keep it as it is, but I would remove this final reset condition. Just landing a decisive attack, I think, is good enough to reset this charm. It's powerful, but it basically only penalizes their defense by 2. Works as written, but remove building initiative to 6+. I think people understand what I mean here. Lightning speed. Lightning speed. Like a flashing bolt, the Exalted streaks toward her goal, trailing streamers of Anima. This charm can be used to enhance a rush action. The Exalted moves with terrific speed, add 1 automatic success and reroll all 5s and 6s until 5s and 6s fail to appear. Lightning speed can also be used each interval of a foot race or other test of speed. I'm generally not a fan of dice tricks like this, but I do think that they are simple enough to not be overly complicated. I do prefer dice tricks where you make a single reroll, or when you reroll any failed dice, for example, or a set number of failed dice, instead of having to sift through the pool and find specific number dice. But I think still think it's fine, actually, because it's not overly complicated, and it gives you a bit of a rush boost. The only sad thing is that people rush too seldom, too rarely. English. Winning stride discipline. Winning stride discipline. Athletics 4 Essence 1, permanent, non-permanent lightning speed. So, racing against herself, the Solar exalts in leaving her competitors behind. In a test of speed, each interval in which the Solar accrues more successes than her fastest opponent garners a spirit restoring surge. 2 modes to be used. In a test of speed, each interval in which the Solar accrues more successes than her fastest opponent garners a spirit restoring surge. 2 modes to be used on athletics charms on the next turn or 2 initiative. This I think this is just boring. Completely boring. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessary. Sure, the next athletics charm becomes cheaper, but who cares? You get some essence and spend it. Who cares? It's just a boring charm. Remove this charm. And I mean, I could think of maybe a compromise by adding a secondary effect to lightning speed that works similar to Monkey Leap, that the cost is reduced when you do it repeatedly. But when you do rush actions, you typically don't do it repeatedly, because you're already short range from your opponent and you only need that specific round to catch up to them, whether they flee from you or not. So, unless you fail, of course. So, winning stride discipline is dead. Increasing strength exercise. 3 motes or 3 initiative per dot. Simple, none, 1 seen, none. The solar draws remarkable strength from deep within her core. For every 3 motes of essence or initiative the Exalt spends, her strength score increases by 1. Each dot of increase also raises the base damage of her decisive attacks by 1. The solar strength cannot be increased by more than her essence rating through the use of this charm, so that's +1 strength at essence 1. And this charm may not grant her more than double her strength score. Okay. Through use of increasing strength exercise, solars can reach the strength minimums required to attempt certain feats of strength. I think this is a very good charm. Okay. It's a neat charm, I think. 10 Ox Meditation. Look at here, we have a little side box as well. 10 Ox Meditation. 2 modes, 3 successes per dot. Supplemental none, 1 feat. So this is 1 feat of strength. The solar magnifies her physical essence, increasing her ability to move massive loads. This charm supplements an attempt to lift or break something, allowing the solar to attempt an action with a prerequisite beyond their current strength rating. Pay 2 motes and roll the Exalt strength plus athletics as normal, converting each 3 successes into a dot of strength as needed. Until the solar meets the prerequisite, this bonus strength does not enhance her current dice pool, as this momentary surge of might only establishes whether she can succeed with her current dice. Okay. Note that she must still have enough successes remaining after increasing her strength to meet the difficult requirement of the feat. Yeah, and the sidebar explains how it works. I think this is good in the way that it can increase the feat of strength that you can attempt beyond the cap, even when combined with increasing strength exercise. If you have essence 5, strength 5, you could pay 15 motes, or no, not 15 motes, -3, 12 motes to increase your strength to 10 for the scene. Then your 10 strength, 5 athletics, 15 dice pool can be used to roll a strength 10 feat of strength, which is quite impressive. With 10 Ox Meditation, you would then 3 successes per dot. Okay. So let's say you have boosted up to strength 10, you pay 2 motes, so then you have paid a total of 14 motes, and then you roll strength plus athletics, which is 15, converting each 3 successes into dot of strength. So let's say 15 dice, you roll 6 successes, let's say. That's +2, so you can make strength 12 feats. Maybe a little bit underwhelming still. Bonus strength does not enhance your current dice pool. It only increases the requirement. But converting each 3 successes, that's... I think it can be buffed actually. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You roll 1,000,000 successes and you suddenly have a strength 20 feat that you still don't get the successes to actually accomplish. Cost 2 motes, 2 successes per dot. Actually, I'll reduce the requirement to Athletics 4 as well, because I want to. Converting each 2 successes into a dot of strength as needed. So then we get +3 with our 6 successes. So a strength 13 feat. And then we add an excellency, of course. Yeah, I'm still happy with this. I think this is a reasonable upgrade. Thunderbolt attack Prana. I remember this. 4 motes, 1 willpower. Supplemental decisive only instant. Increasing strength, exercise and monkey leap technique. The Exalted draws down on the essence around her, pulling it through her upper body, her lungs, her core and down into her legs, and then explodes skyward, rising in a brilliant essence-laden arc. This charm supplements a non-ranged attack, which can be made against aerial targets up to short range, or ground targets at another range band. The solar leaps at her target, striking with incredible force. Damage is doubled after it's rolled. Ouch. If the Exalted uses this attack to move to another range band, it counts as her movement action for the round. After striking an aerial opponent, the Exalted may fall 1 range band without taking damage. Thunderbolt attack Prana is expressly permitted to be used in conjunction with charms of other abilities, and that includes martial arts. And it is suggested that the player use it to create a signature attack that fits the character's attitude and style. I think this is the fantasy behind the charm is cool. It's extremely powerful. But yeah, it's extremely powerful because it doubles damage. But it still costs a willpower and you must declare it before the attack, so it can also attack up to a range band away, which is extremely powerful as well. So that moves you 2 range bands in a round, which is extremely powerful. If the Exalted uses this attack movement, it counts as a movement, yeah. Oh wait. If the Exalted uses this attack to move to another range band, it counts as her movement action for the round. Okay, so you cannot move 2 range bands. It's basically like Monkey Leap in that way. You can move or you can, not move. What you can do is you can move into the air with it. Yeah, I think this is good. I'm thinking if I should nerf it, but no, I don't think so. I think it's... Solar's a badass. Let's keep it like this. I told you the athletics charms are mostly solid. Feather foot style. 3 motes until the Exalted stops running. Lightening her step and balancing carefully, the Exalted may run across fluid surfaces. She may dash over unstable surfaces as if they were solid and move over surfaces no thicker than rice paper without breaking through. At full speed, she may also move across lava or other dangerous surfaces without getting hurt. This effect lasts until the Exalted stops dashing. As long as she is moving at a quick pace, she needs to pay the activation cost again. At Athletics 5, Essence 2, the Exalted can pose on unstable surfaces without breaking through, changing the duration of this charm to 1 stunt. She can walk slowly across the surface of a still pond, pose on the crumbling parapet of a castle to give a speech, and so on. This means if she's using a charm to dash across the water to reach a boat. I think the charm in itself is good. I'm just thinking if the upgrade is necessary. The only thing the upgrade is free, but the only thing it really lets you do is to enhance stunt, which I think you should encourage to do anyway. So I would consider just merging the effects and let the player have this effect as well when they purchase the charm. So how would that look? It would look like this. Duration 1 stunt or until the Exalted stops running. Give the Athletics 5 Essence 2 upgrade for free. This is my change. Let's go with this. Spider foot style. 3 modes. Athletics 4, Essence 1, Mute, Essence plus 1 turns. So 2 turns at Essence 1. Requires Featherfoot style. With speed and balance heightened to the nth degree, the Solar's essence may bond with the surface, allowing her to run up walls or stand upside down on horizontal surfaces such as tree branches, bridge bottoms or overhangs, or to lay flat against the ceiling looking down at her prey. Like Featherfoot style, if the Solar is unable or unwilling to renew this effect, her preternatural grip dwindles and she may plummet and be subject to falling damage. Spiderfoot style's effect can be extended for 1 round by a well-described stunt during a turn in which the charm is active. Sure. A-okay. I think the... Nah, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Athletic charms are so good. You don't need to do anything with them. This Unbound Eagle approach is a permanent upgrade that also has a 2-mode cost. Athletics 4 Essence 2 Soaring Crane Leap. It is the Solar's nature to rise above, meditating on the tyrannical bonds of gravity. The Exalted learns to separate her essence from that which pulls her down. By paying 2 extra motes to the activation of Soaring Crane Leap, the Exalted may drift across a horizontal rangeband without initial thrust, allowing her to plane along low ceilings or avoid traps that might detect a more wild leaping motion. In addition, she can use this charm on each round after activating Soaring Crane Leap to continue to glide across rangebands without dropping down. I mean, it's a cool visual. With an adequate amount of thrust, the Exalted can glide across long horizontal distances without falling, equaling her initial movement forward. I mean, the effect is cool. I'm just thinking if it doesn't need anything more. Is it compelling enough? Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm going to keep it as this, but I think it's a bit underwhelming, to be honest. But let's keep it. Leaping Tiger Attack. I don't think I remember this charm. I remember the name, but I don't remember what it does. 4 motes 1 Willpower, Athletics 5. Duel. Graceful Crane Stance Lightning Speed. Meditating on the frozen moment, Lawgiver sees the universe aligning around the neck of her target. Through strength, balance and control, she pulls at the distance between herself and her foe and flashes in for the kill. The Exalted may use this charm as far away as medium range to instantly flash past her opponent, striking him at close range. If her attack is withering, it deals double damage after soak, but before damage is rolled. If it is decisive, it adds her essence score to the base damage of the attack. As the Solar slides past her opponent, she ends the attack standing at close range. This counts as the character's movement for the round. In order to use this charm, the Solar must be at higher initiative than her opponent and at 6+ initiative. Leaping Tiger Attack is explicitly allowed to be used in combination with the charms of other abilities, but is incompatible with Thunderbolt Attack Prana. I was just about to comment on that, because that doubles the damage. And Eagle Wing style. Okay. This is a solid charm, I think. It's a powerful charm. Very powerful charm that can be combined with martial arts as well, which is even more interesting. The only thing I would contest is probably the 6+ initiative requirement. I think that just requiring you to have a higher initiative than your opponent should be enough. So I think that's it. So remove the 6+ initiative requirement. Other than that, let's keep it as it is. Racing Hare method. 5 motes 1 willpower. 1 hour. Attuned to essence currents that flow through the world, the Solar moves as if in a waking dream. She travels in flashing sprints and sparking leaps, moving from branch to branch like a skipping stone and leaving dust clouds in her wake. This charm lasts 1 hour. During this hour, the Solar moves up to 3 range bands per turn. What the fuck? Depending on the terrain and her ability to move at an uninterrupted clip. If she joins battle, her speed is greatly slowed, as she must focus more on... as she must focus more completely on her environment. The solar resumes moving 1 ranged band per turn, but the charm still has an effect. Double 9s on rush attempts, and for every 10 rolled on a rush, the solar gains a point of initiative. Ooh. If the Exalted knows the charm Triumph Forged God body, I think that comes later, the rushes instead gain essence bonus dice. Instead gains. Oh, maybe it's something that charm does. We'll look at that later. These benefits also apply to each interval of a test of speed. If the lawgiver chooses to renew this technique at the end of an hour, ignore the willpower cost. Well, this was powerful. So outside of combat you can move 3 range bands, basically 3 times as fast as normal. Which is cool. And in combat you get double 9s on rush, which you can combine with the other charm, lightning speed charm. For every 10 on a rush you gain an initiative. That has the potential of being extremely powerful. I can't comment on Triumph Forged God again, because I don't remember what it does. I need to check it up soon. But I think the charm is actually pretty solid. It's interesting. It's not overly complicated. There's a lot of text, but it's not overly complicated. Most of it is fluff. So I think I would keep this as it is. 1 hour is a long time, but yeah, I think it's a good charm. It's an attractive charm. And it's definitely something I think plenty of athletic solars are interested in having, so I want to keep it. Onrush Burst Method. Onrush Burst Method. Athletics 3, SS2. Upgrade from lightning speed. The solar learns to channel the exhilaration she feels at chasing an opponent into a burst of adrenal power that restores her spirit. On successfully rushing an opponent, the Exalted gains 3 modes to be used in athletics charms. Fuck that charm. Remove this charm. I mean, when it comes to charms like this, it's really nothing... There's nothing inherently wrong with the charm's effect. But the charm itself is incredibly boring. And when you spend 8 or 10 XP on a charm, you want something that... You want something where it feels like your character has gained a new impressive technique of some kind. And when it's just it's an invisible synergy charm in a way, they are extremely boring, and I don't like them. So it's gone now. You will have to live without those extra 3 modes. I'm sure you will still be as fast and as powerful as with them. Arete. How do you say this? Arete. I have no idea how to pronounce this word. Arete-Driven Marathon Stride. Another permanent. Upgrade the winning stride discipline, which I think we removed earlier. Winning stride. Yes, that's removed. So let's change this to lightning speed. The solar trains her body to feel the essence of those she would outrun, matching their strength with every stride. When she falls behind in a test of speed, every 10 her fastest opponent rolls also counts as a single success to the solar's own roll. Are these non-charm successes, or what? This charm also functions in rushes to aid in countering the target's attempts to avoid the solar. This effect is kind of weird, because it doesn't state that it's a non-charm success, which means it's not. It's something that affects your charm caps, your dice caps. but it's also something that that's based on what your opponent is rolling. So if you make your roll and you cap out, you spend all the motes you need to cap out your dice pool, then this charm has no effect whatsoever. But if you add a little detail, which I'm going to do, the successes are non-charm successes, then it suddenly becomes very interesting. Because who knows how good your rush will be now. I think with this clarification, this charm is extremely good. And with this clarification, I'm willing to keep this charm. Without this clarification, remove it. But I'm keeping it like this, and I think this is good. So next charm is Armor-Eating Strike. 1 mote, supplemental decisive only. Increasing strength exercise. Channeling her strength through her essence, the soulless attack strikes harder and deeper. This charm supplements a close range decisive attack, allowing the souller to ignore her strength hardness. Armor-Eating Strike is expressly permitted to be used in conjunction with charms of other abilities. I have never been a fan of hardness as a rule. I think that hardness is an atavism of previous editions that doesn't bring anything of value to 3rd edition, other than adding an extra effect that doesn't matter. Hardness acts as a barrier. It means that if you have hardness 10, then your opponent is required to have a higher initiative than that before they can even attempt to harm you. And I've always hated that because your hardness acts as a barrier and not as a soak, your opponent will still get to use their full initiative in their attack against you, which means that the higher hardness you get, the more your opponent will save up their initiative before their attack, and that means that when they choose to attack you, they will have such a high initiative that you will likely be one-shotted. If hardness instead subtracted from the damage pool, then you would still be powerful from the hardness effect, but you would still be able to be graced in combat. So I do think hardness is implemented poorly, and I do think that the game would be better either by removing hardness completely, because I think it's unnecessary, or by changing the way hardness works, basically house ruling hardness to act as a soak. But if you cannot just add the house rule like that without any additional modifications, because then hardness would be too powerful. If you want to run with hardness and want to make a house rule, I would recommend cutting all hardness values in half, rounded up. And that includes the hardness effects granted by charms. So if a charm says that it gives essence hardness, for example, then it will give essence divided in 2 rounded up hardness instead. That would be a house rule. It's not a house rule I'm actually running myself. I do play the game with the standard rules, even though I don't like them. And that's mainly to avoid headaches. But I do hate hardness with a passion. I do want hardness to go away. And because of that, I'm not really a fan of charms like this that affects hardness as well, because it's such an annoying stat. So, what do I want to do with Armor-Eating Strike? I will keep it. Keep it like it is. If you're running hardness like this, keep it as it is. This can potentially be used to remove quite a lot of hardness as well if you combine it with increasing strength exercise. So that's potentially good. I think the heaviest artifact armors have hardness 10, I think. War Striders can have hardness 15 or something. So if you're a high strength character with high essence, you can remove quite a lot of hardness with this charm for only a single mote, which I think is decent enough. So let's keep it and move on to Thunder's Might. 5 motes, Athletics 5, Essence 2, Reflexive. Through intense muscle control, the Solar's insides erupt with surging essence power. Reroll all non-successes on a feat of strength. I mean, sure, it's a decent charm. I do prefer when charms that have dice tricks also have a secondary effect. Or really, they have a primary effect and the dice trick is a secondary effect. This is a boring charm that it works as written, but if I had to rewrite it completely, I would add another effect of some kind. So I'm not really sure what that effect could be. I mean, it could be something neat, like adding it to letting it work with a withering attack as well. That could be neat, but I'm not really sure. I think for now, let's keep it as it is. I'm marking it out here because I do actually want to change it. At least take a look at it again later with fresh eyes and see if I can come up with something neat, because I do think it's lacking a secondary effect. And I want to add that secondary effect before I'm done with the video. Should we continue or should we come to a decision on Thunder's Might? Yeah, I think let's keep it as this. Mountain crossing leap technique. 7 motes, 1 willpower. Essence 3. Simple none until she stops leaping. Unbound eagle approach. The Solar gathers enormous spiritual pressure into her legs and launches herself skyward. The Exalted makes a wild leap, 4 range bands forward or 3 straight up. Ouch. As the force of her leap is almost uncontrolled, she may not leap fewer than 3 range bands with this charm. This charm stays active every turn until the Solar stops leaping across range bands, making it possible for the Exalted to cross a mountain range in minutes. If this charm is combined with the Monkey Leap technique, the Exalted can make a controlled leap to the second range band. If opponents are within close range before the Exalted activates this charm, she must succeed at the disengage action before it can be activated. But I think that's a given, right? That's how it works with Monkey Leap and basically any movement effect. If this charm is combined with Monkey Leap technique, the Exalted can make a controlled leap to the second range band, but not the third. Okay. So the charm makes her automatically jump 4 range bands, or if she combines it with another charm, she can choose to jump 2 range bands. This is weird to me. If I rewrite it like this, will it break anything? As the force to leap is almost uncontrolled, she may not leap fewer than 3 range bands with this charm. How important is that effect? I understand the idea behind, the uncontrolled jump. But from a game mechanics perspective, is it what do you gain from the restriction? I'm thinking if the restriction weren't part of the charm, if you paid your 7 modes 1 willpower and you can decide to jump 1, 2, 3 or 4 range bands at your discretion, would anything break? Other than the fact that the charm is still OP as fuck, but I don't think so. It would be better. That's it. It's still a good charm. I think it's good with my rewrite. I think we can remove the restriction and it would still... It would just make it more compelling, I think. So I think that's the way to go. So I can ignore this. I also think I can ignore this clarification because that's the same with any movement charm. I think we can add the clarification just for the purpose of the follow-up effect, which is quite important to note. So yeah, I can basically just copy paste this because I'm not going to change it. But this final effect, I think a charm like this should specify a difficulty. The question is what makes sense as a difficulty. I need to roll strength plus athletics. The difficulty equal to the solar's. Should it be equal to the solar's essence? I think that's too easy. Or maybe it's still 3 successes on the other hand. But should it be the solar's strength, because they use the strength to leap? Should it be the solar's athletics? Or should it just be a set value? Should the difficulty be determined by how far the solar jumps? Difficulty equal to the number of range bands from 1 to 4 maybe? I think that could be cool. A more powerful jump the longer you jump. Yeah, I actually like that. Equal to the number of range bands. All minor opponents within close range when the solar use this charm suffer automatic minor opponents. I think the correct term is trivial opponents. And non-trivial opponents. These are the terms to use. May need to roll strength plus athletics at the difficulty equal to the number of range bands the solar leaps. I'm happy with this. Let's move on to Eagle Wing style. 5 modes, 1 willpower. Athletics 5, essence 3, reflexive indefinite. Mountain crossing leap technique. Focusing her essence down her spine and through her lower extremities. The Exalted repels the ground with a tremendous leap. The Exalted locks onto an aerial target, whether it be a Haslanti skyship or a Stormwind rider, leaps toward it and begins to soar. This moves her up to 2 range bands, expending her movement action, and allows her to continue flying 1 range band through the air on subsequent turns by paying 2 motes or 2 initiative per turn. Once she is within combat range of an opponent, attacking is sufficient enough movement to keep her airborne. If she is a ranged fighter, she may also use Unbound Eagle Approach, paying 2 motes in order to hang in the air, planing along an air current as she takes an aim action. Lastly, the solar can also channel a burst of speed for 2 motes, allowing her to rush or disengage from appropriate distances. Okay. If she fails to activate this charm, gets knocked off course or otherwise begins to fall, Eagle Wing style cannot be reactivated until she touches down and is able to leap again. Eagle Wing style can be activated at the apex of mountain crossing leap technique, in which case it costs only 4 motes to activate. Yes, I see. And with this you mean it costs 1 mote less to activate? Or that it costs only 4 motes and no willpower to activate? Is that what you mean? This charm is used reflexively. So it combines a movement reflexively together with a movement action, I assume. The thing with reflexive charms is that they can always be used, pretty much. She repels the... It feels like it should be supplemental or... Yeah, I'm not sure why it's reflexive, actually. Is it just to be able to be combined with expending a movement action as well? This is so weird. No, it's not a reflexive charm. It's a supplemental charm. And if I'm missing something super obvious about why it's reflexive, then please comment below, because I'm utterly confused about why they made this reflexive when it's clearly supplemental. I mean, it can still be combined with Mountain Crossing Leap as a supplemental charm. I'm not sure about this effect. It feels like it's just stacking on an additional effect that I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure how that effect contributes to the charm as a whole, because why wouldn't you be able to disengage or rush without paying 2 motes? I think there's something I'm missing. I'm probably too tired or something, because it feels like I'm missing something important when it comes to this charm. Let's break it down. Repels the ground with a tremendous leap. Up to 2 range bands. Hooks onto an aerial target. May fly 1 range band towards target on consecutive rounds. Okay, so this is clear. This can definitely be a supplemental charm and supplemental move action. But this could supplement either a standard move action or a rush action, I'd say. Once within combat range of target, attacking it keeps her airborne. So she remains airborne as long as she makes an attack towards the target on that round. If she is a ranged fighter, she may also use Unbound Eagle Approach in order to hang in the air. I'm just going to take a look at that again. That was this one. Yeah, so 2 modes to hang in the air, basically. Lastly, the Solar can also channel a burst of speed for 2 modes, allowing her to rush or disengage from a... Okay, that makes it more clear. So, rush can pay 2 modes to rush or disengage while remaining airborne. I think it was the phrasing that I was stuck on there. If she fails to activate the charm, gets knocked off course or otherwise begins to fall, Eagle Wing style cannot be reactivated until she touches down and is able to leap again. That's fine. Eagle Wing style can be activated at the apex of Mountain Crossing, in which case it costs only 4 modes to activate. Okay, and then my understanding is that they cost only 4 modes and no willpower to activate them. That's how I would treat it, at least, because you spend 1 willpower for Mountain Crossing. So now I understand the charm. I want to keep it at supplemental, and the rest is a-okay. And still, if I'm missing something important about the supplemental reflexive thing with this charm, please comment below, because I do not see how this is reflexive. But that's just me. Demon Wasting Rush. 5 modes. There's a lot of charms that cost willpower, I noticed. And this upgrades Racing Hare, which we kept, yes. The solo of this charm can attempt a rush from medium range. If successful, she'll automatically move 1 range band closer to her target on its next 2 turns. in addition to her normal movement. Ooh, that's actually a nice effect, but I would still probably remove the willpower cost. It is powerful, but moving one rangement closer to the next 2 turns. So she would get a free rush action on the second turn as well, because it lost 2 turns, so she can make another action. Could she make another demon wasting rush to be able to rush for 3 turns? No, probably not. Would I keep the willpower cost? I don't think so. But I'll probably increase this to 6 just in case. And keep the rest, because that's a powerful effect. Even though rush effects or rush charms are situational, and we spoke a lot about situational charms in the previous video, but when it comes to rush effects, you're the one controlling the situation still, and you can choose to rush, which players don't really tend to do very often, but you can choose to do so. So I do think this is the kind of situational charm where it makes sense. And let's move on to Hurricane Spirit Speed. 1 initiative per success. Like a living storm, the Exalt gathers momentum and speed as she races over land. In combat, the Exalt may spend initiative for successes to rush a target. In a test of speed, she may use it at each interval. I mean, it's a good charm, but I'm not sure about all the rush charms, to be honest. There are so many rush charms that just builds onto the rush action. Let's take a look at lightning speed again. Okay, you re-roll. 1 automatic success and you re-roll. Then we have extra successes from your opponent's roll. And remove this, we have Raising Hare still. Double 9s on the rush roll. And then we have additional successes for initiative. The problem is there comes a time when you reach your cap and you can't buy more successes. If you have the previous charms building up to Hurricane Spirit Speed, do you then need Hurricane Spirit Speed? I mean, technically you can ignore the other charms and just use this, pay some initiative to get some successes, which is good. So I do consider keeping it, but I think I'm going to do this. This charm is boring, but kind of okay. Keep it or ignore it. Ignore it at your discretion. That's my ruling. I mean, it's a strong effect, but it's a boring effect. And a problem with solar charms is that they are boring for the most part. And it would be... I do want to minimize the amount of boring charms as much as possible, even if it means removing them. So I would consider removing this charm, but the effect is... there's value in the effect. So I do think we're going to keep it for now. Godspeed Steps. 4 modes, 1 willpower. The Exalt projects herself forward on a pulse of essence, faster than a heartbeat, moving like a blur. The Exalt may attempt a rush against an opponent up to 3 range bands away. If successful, she flashes out in a burst of speed and flashes in at close range to her target that same instant. This charm removes the flurry penalty for an attack made after a rush. Oh, that's cool. If used in conjunction with Raising Hare method, the Exalt can rush an opponent up to 4 range bands instead. I see. I see. What if you combine it with the Demon Wasting Rush? Isn't that what this effect should be? I mean, Raising Hare method had normal... That's the one that added double 9s but had a normal range bands, right? Yeah, 1 range band per turn. I think this is a typo actually. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to be in conjunction with Raising Hare method. It should be in conjunction with Demon Wasting Rush. That's what I'm going to type. In conjunction with Demon Wasting Rush. Then you can rush up to 4 range bands. I'm perfectly fine with this. Then that charm is suddenly a bit more interesting all of a sudden. It's cheaper than Demon Wasting Rush as well. Yeah, I think it's fine. Like I said, most athletic charms are fine, but a lot of them are quite boring. Let's move on. Power-Suffusing form technique. 4 modes, Athletics 5, Essence 3, Supplemental, Non-Instant, Thunder's Might. The Exalt's body is momentarily framed with surging power. This charm supplements a feat of strength, adding strength non-charm bonus dice to the attempt. Holy shit. This is explicitly compatible with the bonus granted by increasing strength exercise. Holy shit. So then you can get up to 15 strength basically. I mean, still 10 strength and then 5 extra non-charm dice. And then 5 athletics. That's 20 dice before you roll your excellency. And then you can add... Increasing strength exercise counts towards the cap, so you can add 5 additional, so you can get up to 25. And then you re-roll all of your failed dice once. This is quite interesting. I'm just going to take a quick look at Thunder's Might again. This was the boring charm, yes. I think Power-Suffusing form technique is a very non-boring effect. It's very powerful, so A-OK. Legion Aurochs method. Permanent. Striving towards physical and spiritual perfection, the soul is an exemplar of physical might. When performing feats of strength, the cost of... I think this is a stupid charm. Remove it. Remove this charm. It's a waste. Sure, the athletics excellence is cheaper, but it's just unnecessary. Your dice, with other charms, your dice pool is so pumped up anyway, so what's the point of... Triumph Forged Godbody. The soul possesses a body and spirit intensified by thousands of hours of vigorous exercise and meditation. This charm applies the double 9s rule to every athletics roll. That's interesting, because now I understand this effect, because you already have double 9s from this charm, you get essence bonus dice instead. I see. That makes sense. I think this is neat. It's still kind of boring. I prefer when charms have some kind of visual aspect to it, but it's still a powerful charm. So. 1 extra step. Once per scene, the Exalt may take a second movement action on their turn. I think same here. I mean, it's a cool effect, and you can do some interesting things with it. This needs a reset condition. Once per scene, unless reset by. What would be an interesting reset condition for an athletics charm? Something athletics based at least. Maybe I suck so badly at reset conditions. I still haven't figured out the reset condition for the solar spike in the previous video. So I don't really see how I can figure one out now, but let's just make a note like this. This charm is cool, but would be cooler with a reset condition. I wonder what that reset condition should be. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Let's leave it at that. Bonfire Anima Wings. Permanent. Relentless in pursuit of her ideals, the lawgiver's anima becomes like a pair of burning wings that carry her across the sky. When using Eagle Wing style to engage in aerial combat and when her anima is at the bonfire level, the Solar's attacks benefit from the effects of Onrush burst method, generating modes that can be used to pay the activation costs of athletic charms. Onrush burst. Didn't I remove that? Yes, I did. When used, the Solar's anima typically resolves into wings that resemble an eagle's or something else appropriate to Solar's iconic manifestation. I mean, I did remove Onrush Burst, but maybe it's something about it that can be kept for this particular charm. On successful rush decks against 3 modes to use athletic charms. The Solar's attacks benefit from the effects of Onrush Burst method, generating modes that can be... Okay. Let's just add that effect instead of referencing Onrush Burst method. Simply, I can write it out. It's easier. When using Eagle Wing style to engage in aerial combat, and when Anima is at the bonfire level, the Solar's attacks I would probably write it like this: reduces the cost for the next athletics charm by 3 modes. Athletic charms use that scene by 3 modes. I think that's a bit worse than Onrush, I think. This mode lasts until she has taken her next turn. Okay. Yeah, I think it's... I mean, if you use an extra attack charm, then you can get multiple modes. So we should take that into account. The Solar's attacks give her 3 modes that can be used on athletics. It's a bad sentence, but I think it gets the message across and must be used before the end of her next turn. Let's go with that. Aegis of Unstoppable Force. Permanent. The Solar's might is permanently enhanced, lowering the difficulty of all fields. Remove. Just boring. Living Wind Approach. Once per scene, the Solar may reflexively channel a burst of impossible speed to automatically succeed at a rush. In a test of speed, she may use this to generate 1 more success than her opponent on any one interval. If multiple Solars use this on the same interval, they all assume her. I mean, sure, it's an automatic win charm. I don't like charms like that, and I do think that the previous rush charms give so many benefits to rush actions that you're likely to win your rush actions when you want to win them. So, what's the point of Living Wind Approach? Sure, you could win 1 extra time for free. That's basically what it says. Let's remove it. It's too boring. 9 Aeons Thew. 1 mote, 1 willpower. Summoning the might of untold forces. The Exalted crosses the threshold of legend. This charm is the gateway to outrageous shows of physical prowess. The solar gets double 7s to attempt a feat of strength, and she counts as meeting its strength through prerequisite no matter how. Ooh, that's a nice charm. Okay. So that's it. Let's go back. This went a lot faster than the archery charms, but like I said at the beginning of the video, athletics charms are kind of a baseline charms for many of the newer splats. Because whenever we write new splats and we need to write athletics-based charms for them, we take a look at the solar charms and try to balance them from these charms, with these charms in mind, so we don't give a charm to a new Exalt that's more powerful, for example, than the solar charm is based on. Because the solars should be at the top of their game when compared to most other Exalt types. There are some exceptions, of course, but I do think that athletic charms are mostly solid, and most of them are still quite interesting. So let's take a look at what we actually did change though. So Graceful, Monkey, Soaring, all A-OK. Foe vaulting method we improved a little bit by removing one of the restrictions, which I think is a decent upgrade. Lightning speed OK, we removed Winning Stride Discipline because it's a boring effect. Increasing strength is okay. 10 Ox Meditation we improved, and we improved it quite a lot when you take the even later feats of strength charms in account, but I do think it's a decent upgrade anyway. I don't think it's too overpowered, because when you look at the final charm, there's a lot of OP stuff with solar feats of strength, so I do think that the revised 10 Ox Meditation is an improvement, I think. Thunderbolt is okay. Feather Foot Style, we did improve this as well, mainly because I don't really feel like restricting cool stunts until you get Athletics 5 Essence 2, and that's basically all that the upgrade did, in my opinion. Spiderfoot was okay, Unbound Eagle okay, Leaping Tiger, same as with Foe Vaulting, we removed a restriction. Racing Hare is okay, we removed Onrush Burst because it had a boring effect that didn't really add much, I think, to the charm set. Arete-Driven, we clarified that the successes are non-charm successes. I think they were supposed to be non-charm successes, but because it's the opponent's roll that determines the number of successes, but yeah. At least now they are non-charm successes, and that makes that charm very much better. Armor Eating okay, Thunder's Might okay, though both of these, I mean Thunder's Might is boring, but it's okay. Armor Eating is a hardness charm, and I don't like hardness, so but it's okay. Mountain Crossing Leap, we buffed this charm by removing the restriction that keeps you from jumping a shorter distance. And we also added a knockback difficulty to non-trivial opponents, which is determined by how far you jump, which I think is a decent effect. We changed the Eagle Wing style from reflexive to supplemental, because in my head it makes more sense, but I do encourage you to comment below if you disagree, because I'm still a bit confused about about that, and I'm very, very tired today. I did want to get this video out earlier, but I was busy all weekend, and I only really had today to record it, and I haven't really slept, so that's that. Demon Wasting Rush, we removed the willpower cost and increased the mote cost. Hurricane Spirit Speed, boring but okay. Godspeed Steps, it did say in conjunction with Racing Hare, I think. But it should be in conjunction with Demon Wasting Rush, I think, because Demon Wasting Rush lets you rush from medium range, while Godspeed Steps lets you rush from long range, I believe. Godspeed Exalted may 3 range bands away, so you don't count close. So short, medium, long, that's long range. And if you combine it with Demon Wasting, which has medium range, then you can rush from extreme range, right? Yeah, that's how it works. And I do think that makes more sense if you combine it with the Demon. So we made that change at least. If you disagree, or if I'm completely wrong, please comment below so that everyone can see, and everyone who watches this video can get some accurate information in the comments below. So anyway, Power-Suffusing, A-OK. Remove Legion Aurochs because it's boring. Triumph Forged God Body is A-OK. 1 extra step is cool, but would be cooler with a reset condition. So I do recommend that you think about a decent reset condition. I don't really. I had some in mind, like the reset condition could be to succeed on a rush action, for example, but it's too simple, and a reset condition should be something positive and not something detrimental as well. So it shouldn't be a reset condition that requires you to lose an action, such as lose a rush action, for example. That wouldn't be very fun. I do recommend that if you want to make a change, so talk to your storyteller, tell them that I approve that you add a reset condition to the charm, but decide together with the storyteller what makes sense for a reset condition. It's a very powerful charm effect, so it should be something that you can't just reset every other round. And then we just Eagle Wing Style. We didn't really make a change to Eagle Wing Style, we simply just wrote in Onrush into the charm because we had removed Onrush earlier. So that's it. Then we removed Aegis and we removed Living Wind because they were boring, and we kept 9 Aeons Thew. I'm just going to take a look at the prerequisites here, because it requires Aegis Unstoppable Force, and we can't have that. And it can't require Legion Aurochs either. So it requires Power-Suffusing form technique. You save a lot of charms there. But should it have something else as well? Triumph Forged God Body maybe? Yeah, let's add that as well. Triumph Forged God Body. Arete-Driven, Tenox Meditation. I'm not sure. Nah, let's remove that. It's a hell of a lot of more charms you need then, so let's keep it like this. Yes, I think that's it. Those are the revised athletics charms. I did rush through it a bit, and I could barely speak this time. I noticed I stumble a lot on the words, but I'm very tired, and I do apologize that this that this video was a bit rushed, but there were a lot of rush charms, so anyway, I'm quite happy with the revisions we did, and again, athletics. The athletic charms are fairly solid charms, so I do look forward to when we get to the charm trees that need a little bit of more work, like the craft charms. But that's one day at a time. We have awareness next, and I do encourage people to comment below if you disagree with any of my changes, or if you have your own suggestions for changes, or if you think maybe nothing should be changed, maybe all of these charms are good in your opinion, please comment so as well. I do appreciate both positive and critical feedback, so please make sure to comment if you have watched this far. Please make sure to like. I did encourage you to dislike the previous video. I changed my mind. I don't want you to dislike my videos, but please like this one, even though it was a bit rushed. I am curious to know if you actually do like the content, and the channel is growing slowly but steadily, because I do not post videos as often as I'd like, because I do have a real life with lots of responsibilities, but it could be worse. I want to update regularly, and the more people watch, the more people like, the more people comment, the more motivated I am to post more regularly and to put more effort into actually planning and recording new videos. So, because it does take time, it does take a hell of a lot of time to edit a video, and it's not an easy thing to do when you work and you study and you have other responsibilities like deadlines and such, but I do appreciate that you are here, I do appreciate that you watch my content, and I do promise to continue putting out content. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Before we end the video, make sure to go to the Storyteller's Vault and buy my adventure, the Crystal Feather. $10, and you get a neat little adventure with some neat little setting info and a few artifacts with evocations. So not much, but it helps me a lot, so I would appreciate if you check that out. And I do have a Patreon as well. I have been a bit slow on the Patreon in recent months, unfortunately, and that's because most of the Patreon specific content is related to Machineborn, which is a science fiction game that I'm writing, a bit of a personal project. I haven't been too productive for some time because I've had a lot of deadlines, and I did have an internship for 15 weeks that took up a lot of time. It was basically a full-time job on top of additional study time that I needed to do, but I'm on my last week now, and then I'm back to normal studies, and I should have more free time to, or rather I should have more freedom over my schedule at least. So that's that. I think that's it for today. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you when we visit the awareness charms.